Hey, what's going guys? Welcome back. It's Tariq and today we will continue our tutorials about Grandjs. In the last tutorial we will took a look on how to implement Grandjs, and previously we know how to install Grandjs and its needed packages to get started with Grandjs. And in this tutorial, inshallah, you will get started with routing system in Grandjs and how it actually works and how you build your routes and your application APIs and so on in Grandjs. So here is the documentation. You can find that implement all the needed information that you need to build full strong routing system in your Grandjs application. And you can find this documentation in grandjs.netlify.app. And in routing system, we have Grand Routing System is built upon object-oriented programming. And actually, when you define a routing in Grandjs, it's actually, or basically, it's some sort of class. You extend it and you initialize this class and instantiate it to build your routing. So the implementation here is so easy and super simple. You can just require a router class from Grandjs and then start extending this router. So let's get the implementation. Here I'm using VS Code, and I am in the main directory, which is source directory. And actually I am in application my application folder, and here I will create a new directory called routes, and actually this directory will contain all my defined routes. Okay, so here we add index.ts because this index.ts will be initialized from our index.ts in the main directory, which is source directory. And we can add here a new router called, for example, admin.ts, and actually in this file will contain all admin routes, for example. So we can add import, and we can import from here router from Grandjs. And once we import router, we are able to actually extend this class. So we can define here a new class called admin routes extends, and we can define here extending this router. And basically we use here TypeScript, and Grandjs ships to you some decorators that you can use to easily implement your routes inside your class. So let's implement our get method, and actually we can implement here post decorator and delete decorator for delete methods, and put decorator, patch decorator, and so on. So all these are decorators you can implement from Grandjs code to extend or to add them to your routing or router class to define your routes. So how we can define a route here? So we can basically say get home page, for example, and actually this is a simple method inside this class. And to make it as a route handler, we can define here, for example, get decorator, and inside this decorator we can define an object, and this object actually takes some properties and parameters you can define to define your this route handler. For example, you can firstly say the URL for this route, which will be I think dashboard, and we can rename this method as get dashboard page. Yes, I think that. and actually you define the method here, or the decorator, as get. So you can define URL here, and also you can define middlewares to apply, and actually we will take a look on the middlewares in a next session. So here we just need to define the URL, and also you can define your CURS here, but actually we implemented CURS, and Grandjs implements CURS by default inside your application, so you don't need to define CURS, except you need to define some CURS principles and constraints inside each route. Okay, and for example, we can say here get dashboard page, we can say this.res, and inside this class actually you can access on the response and the request properties inside this class. However, so you can say, for example, in this.response.end, or we can status firstly, and this actually can be 200, and we can say the end, and we can say hello admin page, and save it. Now we have implemented our admin router. So to extend this router, we can export it. So we can rename it as admin router, and we can say export class admin router, and inside index.js, inside routes directory, I can import my admin router. So we can say import admin router, and it will be imported automatically. And here we can define a function called init, and actually this is an arrow function, and this function simply initialize our routes. So I define my routers here as a classes and export them. So I define them here and export them to this index.ts file inside routes directory, and I initialize my routes or routers here and inside this function. So firstly we can say const admin router will equals new admin router, and actually you have here to define some configuration, and the first thing is to define is the base URL, which means you have admin routes, so basically they will work under /admin. So all the added routes inside this admin router, for example /dashboard, it will be added after /dashboard. For example, when you go to browser, you will go to /admin/dashboard, and hopefully it makes sense for you. Just this, and after that we can call a method for this router to be initialized, which is .build. build, and actually this method you call it to build your router, and once this router is built you are able to navigate to its routes. So save this, and we can export this init function. So export default and export const init, and inside index.js .ts we can import here from ./root/index, and inside this index.ts we can import init method, and in this init method, after or before initializing our server, we can call this function, and actually this function will run my routes and build my router, and then our router will be ready to be executed. So save the file and go to my terminal here and see what will happen. So we can say npm run dev to run my application in development mode, and server, as we can see here, server is initialized. So we can go to my browser and go to localhost 3000. We can see here until now we have not found page because our main router or base URL in admin router, which is /admin. So we can see here /admin also not found because we didn't define until now a root after or a root for this /admin. But when we go to /dashboard, we can find here this message, hello admin page. So we have defined here our /admin as base URL, and inside this we define /dashboard with which is the only root inside admin router, and this root will be executed once we go to /admin/dashboard. So hopefully guys it makes sense for you, and actually that's the Grandjs routing system, and actually we'll continue our routing system implementation in the next tutorial, and I will show you more examples to how add child routers, and how also to implement multiple routes inside your router and so on. So see you in the next tutorial, and thank you.